I'm just not sure that Kyler Murray is big enough. This is Tom Brady. He's not just going to retire. Whitey, big fan of the show. Appreciate I've got Brian Murphy to my left, making sure everything's smooth, crispy, buttery. James Harden is systematically ruining the game of basketball. He's the most overrated player. And there you are, the Chicago Bears with a open season defense. And Mitch, I'm sure Dancing with the Stars is happy to have Antonio back. If you thought you were going to get Zion, that's your bad.
You are now listening to Open Season. Your host, Billy Allen.
Hey, it's another Tuesday. We're stepping up into the 9 o'clock hour. Billy Allen, your host. Justin Elaine sitting courtside. We've got a good show for you tonight. We're talking about all things Tom Brady, BradyWatch. Where is Tom Brady going? Let's figure that out. Are the Celtics in trouble? They could be. They've had a little bit of a 4-game slide at home, but looks like they're showing out pretty good against the Pacers. Did Kyrie get Kenny Atkinson fired? We'll be talking about that. Kyrie, the ultimate weapon for any team. And did LeBron claim his crown this weekend? Couple wins against the two best teams in the NBA. We'll get Justin's take. We know he's a big LeBron fan. Is the coronavirus going to shut down sports? I don't know. It's shutting down things pretty quickly. March Madness looking like it may not happen. But first, we have to get into it with Tom Brady, BradyWatch. There's been so much talk, and we're finally just going to dive in. We've had enough of the watching the FaceTiming between Mike Vrabel and Tom Brady and Julian, and we've had enough of the Brady's likes on AB's posts. It's time for us to take a bite into the Tom Brady free agency sandwich a little bit here. And, we got a lot going back and forth with the Patriots looking like they may be saying that there's not that big of a market for Tom Brady. And you got Brady in his camp saying that there may be 8 to 10 teams. So, where do they sit as we, bring in Justin? Where do you think Tom Brady's going at this point?
I personally feel like he's going to be coming back to the Patriots. I feel like the market that everyone's been talking about for 2 months now has been driven by the Brady camp. And that's what he's supposed to be doing. That's what his marketing team is supposed to be doing to drive that. All these teams that are looking for him. It just some of these teams, they can offer them the contract, but I don't think football-wise and as a life decision for his family are the right places, such as Tampa Bay or the Raiders in Vegas. Just doesn't make a ton of sense, and I don't think he'll take that, even if they pay him more than the Pats. So it's an interesting dynamic over the past couple of weeks.
Yeah, it definitely is, and we got a lot of different rumors. You're hearing things like teams like maybe the Dolphins, maybe Tampa Bay, and you're wondering if teams like that, if Brady would ever kind of consider going to a loser, and you wonder what is most important to him as he goes into free agency. Some people think the money, some think it's the chance to win. What do you think is ultimately motivating Brady the most during this free agency search?
So I don't think it's the money. He has a ton of that. His wife makes more than he does. He's played for 19 years, and he's made a lot of money. TB12 makes a lot of money. All of the marketing deals makes money. I think it's to him, it's more just knowing that it's a respect thing. I think he wants Belichick to understand that it's an even thing. Their success is not more just Bill. And for Bill to treat him as an equal rather than just another player, which unfortunately for him has been driving him for so many years with all this success and driving the team with all this success.
Yeah, and I mean, do you think that's even possible, a world where Tom Brady or where Belichick kind of comes down to that level and ever sees him eye to eye across from a table? They go into a room and say, hey, you know what? You couldn't have won these titles without me. I couldn't have won these titles without you. Do you think that's any type of discussion that those two are going to have? Do you think Belichick can kind of come down to Brady's level, or do you think he's going to continue to stay up high? And
I think at this point it's more a negotiating tactic. I think the Patriots are very good at understanding the market. I think they all know that even if those teams, like I mentioned, offer him the money, he's not going to go there. All is really going to come down to two teams. And this 49ers thing, I think it's a long shot because it doesn't make a ton of sense for the 49ers to do it. They just went to the Super Bowl, right? And they're just going to trade Jimmy Garoppolo. It's not like he was a bad quarterback for them. He had a bad quarter in the Super Bowl.
Yeah. And, I mean, you mentioned something pretty good. We actually have a little bit of sound from our friend Nick Wright kind of talking about the fit that it would be or would not be, because I agree with you. It seems like it makes sense for a couple parties, but Nick Wright kind of outlines it here, how it doesn't make sense for the 49ers.
Two of them would be interested. I have no clue why the third one would be. So the first party is the New England Patriots. I totally understand why they would want to, if they're going to lose Tom, replace him with a guy who has worked with McDaniels, who's been in the system, who is all of a sudden on a very reasonable contract. All the guaranteed money has been paid out. It's $27 million a year for the next 3 years. I get why the Patriots would be interested. Another party who would have to be interested is Tom Brady. Tom Brady, he's from Northern California. They have a great defense. They have an excellent offensive line. They have a great tight end. I get why he would be interested. So now we're 2 out of 2. But the third one is the Niners. And why would the Niners be interested? That's the part I can't wrap my mind around. You've got a 28-year-old quarterback making $27 million a year, coming off the best season of his career, even if I think those numbers are slightly inflated. Why would you want to replace him with a 42-year-old quarterback coming off the worst season of his career, who's going to want to make about $27 million a year? So that's the part where the circle cannot be squared or the square cannot be circled. I can't figure out why the Niners would want to do this, and if they don't want to do this, this has no legs whatsoever. And so I get why for Brady, I get why for the Patriots. I do not understand why for San Francisco.
Yeah, so, I mean, he pretty much outlines it right there, but, a pretty hot commodity in, at least for the Patriots' eyes. This has been the guy that they wanted. They wanted Jimmy Garoppolo. Bill Belichick, he was kind of texting him on the side there, last season and all that, and it was just like, this is the guy that they wanted all along. This is a story that it sounds great, but I don't know how realistic it actually is. However, we haven't seen anything from the 49ers to put any type of water on this fire. There hasn't been anything from Kyle Shanahan. There hasn't been anything from John Lynch. I mean, you got to assume that if this is the quarterback of your future, you could come out and say, hey, we like this guy, and not just sit back there and allow this smoke to continue to smolder. So, with nobody saying anything really, I think that it's still something that's alive, although, for me, it's like the type of move that I would make to get Brady to put me over the hump, but you're going to kind of be putting your team in a poor position for the next 10 years. But the 49ers, they haven't won a title. They don't they're not in the position kind of where the Pats are. If you're the Pats, you're really not saying we have to win now. You can take a guy kind of like Garoppolo and look for the future. So it's just interesting that there hasn't been anybody to come out. This news has been out for like a week now. We haven't heard anybody come out to kind of poo-poo it from the 49ers side, and you'd assume that somebody would have.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of crazy to think, and it really came out of nowhere at the Combine. All the stories, rumblings coming about the 49ers all of a sudden are interested in Brady. And what's interesting is that Brady and Garoppolo share the same agent. So how does that even work? Where Jimmy calls the agent and says, "What's going on here? Are you trying to get me out of San Francisco? You just gave me this massive contract."
If you're Jimmy Garoppolo, you got to be saying, how long do I have to beat out Tom Brady? This guy is 43 and he's still coming to take my job. It's just amazing how it continues to be a story and you're not really hearing anything from either side. It would be nice if you're Jimmy Garoppolo to probably get something from one of those guys. John Lynch has pretty much backed him publicly, has kind of said that, in the past he's been he's the guy that we want and, we're very happy with him, but they haven't said anything over the last week. And I don't know if people are trying to get a market going for Brady. I don't know if that's Brady's people talking.
I just, from a 49ers perspective, it just doesn't make a ton of sense where that team is stacked on defense. Their offense is primarily the running game. It's not the passing game. why are you going to trade away Jimmy Garoppolo when he's 27, 28? You have him for 3 more years for a quarterback. Granted, Brady's obviously the GOAT, whatnot. He's 43. The one thing I don't understand about all of this is why is there so much market and everything for Brady? He's obviously the greatest of all time, but he's 43.
Yeah. And I mean, here's my thing about Garoppolo and Shanahan, too. It's like, if Shanahan is this QB whisperer, if he can just take anybody and make them good, if he's got this offense that works, it's like, why are they so nervous to hang on to a guy like Garoppolo? Why not just swing for the fence and bring in a guy like Brady? I hear what you're saying. He's almost 43. You kind of got to ruin your team to do it. But you're making that decision to kind of win now. And I think the 49ers aren't necessarily a quarterback away, but they probably look at that game and they say, Brady probably makes that throw. And I just wonder if that's kind of the prevailing thought that's going through their head as they evaluate some of this, because like I said, they're just not doing anything to put any, and you hear that Brady he's going to talk to the Pats, he's going to go to Costa Rica, but I've also heard that he's going to have some type of meeting with the 49ers. So,
but where is that coming from?
Exactly, who's floating that? Is that somebody floating that from the Brady camp? It seems like, to your point, all the smoke is kind of coming from the Brady camp. The Pats haven't said anything.
I think of it as, it's not that Garoppolo lost them the Super Bowl. I look at the head coach and how they managed the third and fourth quarters when all this was going on. The same offensive coordinator that blew the Falcons game against us in the Super Bowl. He didn't manage how to manage the clock the right way when they had a lead in the fourth quarter. You can't, because Garoppolo didn't make one throw. Look back to all the Super Bowls that Brady won. How many interceptions has you thrown? A decent amount. It's not like, well, Brady lost us that. Come on. It's not that the Garoppolo lost the Super Bowl. It's because he was going against Patrick Mahomes, who's the greatest quarterback in the league right now. And no one in the league can go throw for throw with Patrick Mahomes.
Yep. And I totally agree with that. We sat here and said that Mahomes would win. And, I was kind of saying the whole way through the playoffs that, even when they were going up against the Titans, it's just like all this is going to run out. You kind of can't outgun Mahomes. And I think the 49ers did run up against the better team, but it's just like, how many times do we see these teams make the Super Bowl? They lose it, and then they just go to absolute hell. I mean, we've seen it with
they have such a good foundation. They don't need to, in my opinion, they bring Brady in, they're ruining their foundation because they're going to have to pay him all this money. Granted, Garoppolo makes probably they're
27 and a half.
I guess. But the team that scares me is the Titans. But the thing about the Titans is Derrick Henry wants Ezekiel Elliott money.
Does he? Is that the word?
Yeah, that's the word. How are you going to pay him? Who was the reason why you were in the playoffs in that run to begin with?
I thought it was Tannehill.
Yeah. Hey, Tannehill did a good job of play action. When you give Henry the ball 8 times out of 10, yeah, play action works. Tannehill's not going to win you anything, but you can't sign Derrick Henry and sign Tom Brady. If I'm the Titans, I wouldn't even do it. I would sign Henry, sign Tannehill to a 1-year deal, and stock up on defense. Or draft a quarterback, get another receiver. You don't need Tom Brady to come in to do this.
So do you believe that some of these teams are propping up Brady? Do you think Vrabel is maybe doing some of this as a favor to Brady? Do you think they're kind of in cahoots? Or
a negotiating tactic against Tannehill. Tannehill might say, well, hey, I just took us to the AFC Championship game. I want X, Y, Z. And he's like, I'm not going to give you anything more than a 1-year deal. And the same thing with the Buccaneers. They have Jameis Winston. He threw 30 picks, but he threw 30 touchdowns. That offense is very hard to understand. Carson Palmer threw the most interceptions in his career the first year in that offense.
And Brady's also not meant for that offense. That's an offense where you're throwing downfield and taking big licks.
Exactly. And throwing tight ends. There's no tight ends.
Yeah, and I just don't think that's a match for him. I think that Bruce Arians would give him the autonomy that he wants. He'd give him the power he wants, the money he wants, but the team doesn't have the cachet.
Yep.
And they don't have the personnel that kind of fits with Brady.
And what's these rumors too with Antonio Brown? You think Mike Vrabel is going to put up with Antonio Brown? Not a chance in hell. And Bruce Arians wouldn't put up with Antonio Brown either. So it just all comes down to...
So are the Chargers the only team that's... you just cross out all these teams. The Pats and Oakland are obviously off the list. They're not going to bring in...
Yeah, not a chance. The Chargers have a great offense, but they have no offensive line. Brady's 43. What was the problem this year, especially when Wynn was out? He couldn't get the ball out.
Yep.
He's not going to be able to get the ball out. They have a great running game, but again, the coach, I don't see him and Brady, Anthony Lynn, that's not going to work. He's going to come back here, and they're going to try to get either a receiver or a tight end trading for one of them and go that route. Go for one more.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting because it seems like they're trying to make Brady sing for his supper again. It's like he's been trying to get a deal done for the last 3 years, and they tell him, hey, we gave you the contract offer last year.
Yeah, but he was the one that put in his contract this year, I can become a free agent. That was him.
But I think that's because he negotiated it with them for 2 years and said, Jesus, these people are never going to pay me. At least give me a chance to make a decision.
It's kind of hard, right? So, you got to think, you're obviously a who's LeBron fan. All those years he does these 1-year deals. He puts the franchise, it sucks because, you signed him, but then what if he walks the next year? With Brady, he's 43. What if he's, we all hope he doesn't, but what if he falls off a cliff like Max Kellerman's been saying, and he doesn't have a good year next year, and you have him for 2 more years, a $25 million season?
Well, if you're the 49ers and you have the quarterback whisperer, shouldn't you be able to do that? I mean, I don't know. Is Kyle Shanahan an offensive genius, or is he not? Because you hear he's an offensive genius, but maybe Brady wouldn't be good. So it's where do we stand on Kyle Shanahan?
Kyle Shanahan's a good coach. He's probably one of the better offensive coaches in the league. But just like Sean McVay the year before, I mean, who would you rather have, Garoppolo or Jared Goff?
I'd personally rather have Garoppolo. Who would you? I think Goff's an idiot. Goff, you need to handle with care.
He's an idiot too. He doesn't know what he's doing.
McVay in his ear till he's almost about ready to snap
Garoppolo
it.
has one thing Goff doesn't: balls. Garoppolo wants the ball. I think Goff shies away from it.
Yeah.
Garoppolo wants to win. He has a great foundation. If I'm the 49ers, I'd trade for another receiver. You have Deebo Samuel. Emmanuel Sanders is 34.
I think he's a free agent as well.
But you have George Kittle. That team is stacked. You don't need Tom Brady to win a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
You're going to go back there next year, the best team in the league.
But do you look back on it, I guess, after a loss and just say, we have a chance to get the greatest of all time? And, I mean, I don't know. I think the Chargers are a team that's potentially in play because I feel like it's always the teams that you don't hear from are the ones that actually do stuff. I feel like the Chargers have been really quiet. We've seen kind of Vrabel be out there. He was on the FaceTime. Everybody saw that. We've heard from Bruce Arians. We've heard from Oakland. The two teams that factor into me are the LA Chargers, and I think the Dolphins are still in it, to be honest with you. Do you think there's any chance? No chance in the Dolphins? They've got 3 first-round picks.
That's great for a quarterback. If you're a young quarterback, he's 43. That team has nobody. And they're going to be good maybe 4 years from now, but not anytime soon.
All right, let's go to the phones. Hi, you're on with Open Season. Hello?
Anybody there?
Yeah, you're live with Open Season. Who do we got?
Oh, is this Billy?
It is.
Billy, it's John. How are you?
It's good, my man. And how are you doing? I can't believe you finally called.
I heard you guys talking about quarterbacks, and I wanted to chime in.
Well, hey, for my co-host Justin, I think I got to fill him in that you're a big Giants fan. Big Pats hater.
Ah.
I wouldn't necessarily call me a Pats hater, but definitely a big Giants fan. I would have loved to have Tom Brady on the New York Giants coming up this season. You have Daniel Jones sit behind him for a year or two. If Tom Brady was coming in on a league minimum or something where we could get him for nothing so we could build a team around him. But we can't. He wants $25, $30 million, and I don't have that kind of cash.
Yeah.
But do you think that Brady this past year, everyone talks about that he didn't have that good of a year. But if you look at the stats, he was still top 10, top 12 in the league. And if you look at what he was throwing to, I mean, I think he'd be a good quarterback for any team, really. It's just doesn't make sense for your franchise future.
I don't think that's the problem. I don't think it's the fact that people don't want Tom Brady. I'm pretty sure he's got some market. It's the whole package of do we have enough capital to get Tom Brady and build the team around him. And there probably aren't many teams that have all of the right pieces. Tennessee's one of them. San Francisco's one of them. But then there are like other teams like, I don't know, Tampa Bay that has some of the pieces. Does he really want to go to Tampa? Probably not. Miami? Does he really want to go to Miami? Probably not. So the market's not that big. And do you want to spend all that cash to get a guy for 2 years? Or do you want to try to build a team where you can, have a 5-10 year run of being relevant?
See, a dark horse team I could see would be Dallas. They don't want to sign Dak, right?
Yeah.
They have the team. They have everything that he wants. He's got the market. It's Cowboys. He has a great offense. Ezekiel Elliott, Amari Cooper, great defense.
That would be a great fit. And you've heard things about, maybe the Patriots going after Cooper.
Yep.
So, maybe there is some type of connection there.
Jerry Jones wouldn't sign Antonio Brown. He would do it.
No way.
God.
He would do it in a heartbeat.
You know what? That's
I don't
honestly
think so.
That's honestly a pretty good one. I feel like John. I feel like that was a good option to if you could have Daniel Jones there for a couple of years and kind of have Brady come in and mentor him. You've almost heard the Giants got brought up as like one of these mystery teams. So that's interesting that if he ever ended up with the Giants, I don't see that happening. I don't see him ever going there. But
Me either.
But yeah.
But it would be. I would have loved it if he did. I mean, he'd be.
Oh, I know you would.
The second best quarterback to be a New York Giant. It'd be fantastic.
Of course, yeah. Behind Eli.
Are you talking about Phil Simms is the best?
No, I'm talking about Eli Manning.
Kurt Warner for those 6 games that he jumped in there.
Kurt Warner wasn't there long enough to be fantastic.
Geno Smith had a couple good runs.
His team, Kurt Warner's team, it was never Kurt Warner's team.
I know that they brought him in to bring Eli in, basically. Well, hey, what else do you got for us, John? Anything else, or?
So what I would love to know is, if he does go somewhere else, where do you think the best landing spot is? I mean, do you think it's something like San Francisco where he's got a great defense and some young weapons on offense? Do you think it's Tennessee? Do you guys think ultimately he's going to stay with the Patriots? I have this terrible feeling that if the market isn't what everyone thinks it is, that he's just going to stay with Bill, which is, good and bad. Good news is he gets to retire a Patriot, and nothing will tarnish his history there. But the bad news is, us as the fans will never get to see a Bill versus Tom, which would be a phenomenal game to watch.
Yeah, I agree with you. We all kind of want to see that, and me being it, doing this, obviously we want to see those types of stories. We want to see Brady break up with them. I mean, I think for me, I think the most sense for Brady is for Brady. If I'm thinking, as Tom Brady, I think it's the 49ers because that's the team that he grew up watching. The money's going to make sense if they get him. He's got a team that's got a defense, a running game, a team that's, got all the pieces. He gets to go back home, kind of stick it to Bill, be able to say that he made a couple decent runs on a good team at least. So I think if I'm Tom Brady, I think the best fit for me is probably the 49ers. But, I think the Titans are probably that team that's like in second place. I think the relationship with Vrabel definitely is going to help. I think Brady definitely wants a coach that he can trust. I think that's going to be important for him. So it's like, it might come down to something. Does he trust Kyle Shanahan or does he trust Mike Vrabel more? But I see those as kind of the best fits for him.
You mean trust?
Yeah, I agree. If he does go San Francisco, do you think that Bill goes after Garoppolo? Do you think he becomes
100%. I think he would do. I mean, I think that Garoppolo can't command a first-round pick if we're gonna get him. I think
they can actually release. So I think they have to like next week to decide in his contract if they want to move forward with it. So if they got Brady, they would just cut Garoppolo, or they'd try to trade him and see. But no team's going to offer a first-round pick for Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah.
So it'd probably be a second-round pick.
He did not do as well as he should have in the Super Bowl to warrant a first-round pick.
Maybe a second or third-round pick in Edelman, and that way you get Edelman out there for Brady, so Brady has a piece he feels comfortable with when he gets out there. I mean, I don't know.
It's all just hearsay. I mean, you said trust. No matter, maybe Brady doesn't like Bill as, a friend. Who does he trust more in a coaching game more than Bill Belichick?
That's what I mean. I mean,
That's-
you don't have a better
You just
guy
watched
out
Kyle
there.
Shanahan lose the Super Bowl.
That's why it's tough for Brady to go from, it's like going from the Ritz to, the whatever suites, and then, it's like, going from the Ritz to some little it's like the Patriots do everything big. They've got the most amount of money. They fly in these like jets that are like the Chargers don't even travel the same way that
They
the
don't even
Pats
have
do.
fans. They lost all their
So-
fans.
It really just comes down to what Brady wants, and I think he kind of wants some of that autonomy to be able to make the calls that he wants to make. I think he wants to be more involved in decisions.
You
And I don't know if that's ever going to happen for him with the Patriots.
You don't think he wants to
won't.
win 7? Jordan has 6.
I think he wants to win 7. I do think he wants to win
Exactly.
7,
I
but I
think
don't
he
think he
wants to win one more.
I don't
If
think he
not two.
cares what jersey it comes in though as much.
No. I think especially what happened with Peyton, it can
Yeah.
happen again. That was a different circumstance, though. They had to let go of him because of his injury, and they also had Andrew
Right.
Luck.
Well,
coming
they
in.
had Andrew Luck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it's
it's
like
just
the
different.
49ers. It's easy to kick Joe Montana out when
49ers
you have
makes them-
you have a young
yeah.
Steve.
49ers makes the most sense because you have that defense, and you don't have to pay anybody yet. Like Nick Bosa's a rookie. You don't have to pay him for a couple years. George Kittle probably up for a contract, but their running backs are all no-name guys.
Well, this is all also supposing that the 49ers don't bring in Kirk Cousins, which apparently they've been,
Well, that blows my mind.
it doesn't that blow your mind? It seems
be-
like Kirk Cousins is the guy that
to
they
be the-
want.
to be the backup?
Jimmy Garoppolo. If you want Kirk Cousins, keep Garoppolo.
That would be a good
Shanahan
fit.
has been tied to him forever.
Brady went to the Vikings. That would be a fit.
That's honestly
That's another team.
That's one of my dark horse teams.
A mystery team right there.
Yeah, I
And
think
it's
that could be
like-
a
team
good-
has everything.
That team's got the running game. You've got Thaleen, and you've got the other guy that Brady
Diggs.
likes. Yep, Diggs.
And you have Dalvin Cook,
Yep. So you've
Good
got a good
defense.
running game, good defense.
and you're playing in the dome.
Yeah.
Ooh,
And
that's right.
plus you're in a dome, so I mean, that is but are you ever getting Brady to go to Minnesota? We just kind of talked about some of the big markets. So
I don't think Giselle would like the
that's
2
kind of the
degrees.
thing that keeps shooting into holes into some of the arguments is would he go there? And I don't know if he would go there to stick it to Bill because it seems like the conversations haven't gone that well. You've
Says
heard reports
from
You've
Brady.
heard reports that there was phone calls that didn't go well, but yeah, I get your point. You're saying that it's all from Brady's
It's all from
camp.
Brady. I mean,
Well,
my thing is, it all comes back to exactly what you're talking about. The market, even if everyone wants Tom Brady, it doesn't make sense for him to go anywhere. It has to be a specific scenario that makes sense for him, like San Francisco or like a Tennessee, where he could potentially make those moves. I mean, Las Vegas was number 1 on that list for the longest time, and now they're off it. And that was a team that was super interesting if he were to go down that route. So that's why I fear that he's just going to stay a Patriot, and you're going to have a bunch of 10-6 seasons for the next couple of years. You'll stay relevant. You won't win the big one, and that's all she wrote.
Well, hey John, we appreciate you calling in and giving your thoughts tonight, and I hope you have a good rest of your evening, man.
Thank you very much. I'll be back. You guys have a great night.
All
Go
right, you
Giants.
too. So you got it there from him at the end. Go Giants. You won't win the big thing, but honestly, I think the Patriots care more about being relevant. They've always kind of prioritized being 11-5 over being 16-0, or they always are kind of shooting for that consistency. So if they go 10-6 over the next couple seasons, I don't think that's necessarily going to be a bad thing for the Pats.
They're not.
If we could sign up for a couple 10-6 seasons, I think we would at this point, right?
Bill Belichick's never going to coach a team that's going to be at the bottom of the league. No matter who's on the team, he's going to at least get
Even
them
for
8-8.
Trevor Lawrence, he would never
And
tank.
you look at the AFC East. It's the Bills are going to be pretty good, but other than that, you're talking about the Jets and the Dolphins, 4 games every year. The Dolphins obviously we struggle with sometimes, but it's not like we're in a division where it's super competitive. It never has been. It's just not going to be the dominance that we've seen for the past 20 years.
Yeah. So, I mean, Vegas has the next quarterback for the Patriots is Teddy Bridgewater. How does that sit with you? Oh, let's go to the phones. Who do we got on? Who do we got? You're live on Open Season.
Yo, it's Whitey from Queens.
Whitey, what's going on, my man?
What's up, fellas?
Oh, not too much. We're just kind of going through all this Brady latest.
Yeah, bro. I had to wait, and like, these people got to stop, bro, with the Brady. Like, all right, so we're talking about what's a good fit for Brady, but like, none of these teams would do it. Like, why did they like Tannehill had a breakout year this year, and they went to the AFC Championship. Why would they bail on Tannehill?
Stop
who's, like,
it! Stop
15
it!
years younger.
Stop it! You would take Tannehill over Tom Brady?
Yeah, Brady's 43, bro.
Come on.
You take Tannehill over Brady because you're getting Derrick Henry, too. If you get Brady, you're not keeping Derrick Henry. I'd rather have Derrick Henry.
Derrick Henry single-handedly brought them to the AFC Championship. And Tannehill, like, once they subbed in Tannehill for Mariota, they were, like, first in the league in yards per play.
You don't think that was lightning in a bottle, White?
No, man. Just think about it. Tannehill spent his first, like, years in the league on the Dolphins, bro. Like, come on. The Dolphins is a terrible franchise.
Hey, Fitz magic.
Like,
Drew had some magic this year.
Tannehill broke out this year. Like, as a Steelers fan who, like, you know, I also have a old quarterback. Like,
you have a grizzly bear that wears a uniform.
An old grizzly bear.
Looks like a character on Game of Thrones.
Like, I would love to have Tannehill on the Steelers. Like, he showed lots this year.
Yeah, that's because you have Duck Hodges.
Hodges.
I mean, it's one thing to say you want him on the Steelers. You had Duck Hodges and whoever else you had. Mason Rudolph. It was the collection of the undraftables last year. But, I mean, I don't know. To say that you would take Tannehill over Tom Brady, I think if we got you in a dark room with some bright lights, you would ultimately say you want Brady.
I think from a team perspective, it makes sense for them to keep Tannehill over Brady.
Yeah. Like, and don't get me started with the 49ers. Like, Jimmy Garoppolo, everybody is, like, debating the Patriots. Like, did they make a huge mistake shipping out their future for a 40-year-old Tom Brady? So why would the 49ers make the same mistake?
Because they're a team that's, like, hovered on the edge, and they haven't necessarily won it. If you think you're a quarterback away or the greatest player in history away, I mean, if you're a couple throws away, you win that game. I mean, Justin said that you weren't going to outgun Mahomes, but if you had made a couple right throws in that game, you ultimately win the Super Bowl, and we're not having any of this discussion. So I think that's why.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Garoppolo came back from an injury. This was his first year back, right?
Yeah, this is his first year off the injury.
So I don't know who was expecting him to have this, like, Pro Bowl season. And he didn't have to. He was the guy that handed it off and made some clutch throws. He had some games this year that he won them those games. So, I mean, I would go I guess that would make sense for them.
I lost you guys for a minute. Sorry, I had to call back in.
Oh, no worries.
Yeah, but what I was saying is this is basically Jimmy G's first year as an NFL starter, and he brings his team to the Super Bowl. He outduels Drew Brees in New Orleans. Like,
so you think he's going to get much better? Okay, so do you think
he's only going to get better?
You think he's going to get much better? He's 28. I mean, I don't know.
Brady's 43.
Yeah, but it's all about reps, man. It's all about reps. He sat for like 4 years, just like Rodgers. Like, you know, like, it takes time for these quarterbacks.
Does Jimmy Garoppolo make you think of Aaron Rodgers, though? I mean, I just think Aaron Rodgers is a superior talent to him. I think Jimmy Garoppolo is like a Brady light kind of like.
So what I think about Brady, too, with any team, his big thing right now is being with his family. He wants to spend as much time with them. If he goes to another team, he's going to have to learn a new offense, learn playing with the receivers. That takes away time from being with the family. That's just another thing that people are not taking into account.
But do you think they'll allow him to come back? You think the Patriots will pay him $25 million and allow him to come back and say that you don't have to acquaint yourself with the wide? Like, if he signs a deal with the Patriots and comes back, he's going to have to be bought in again. There's not going to be like this. He can do whatever he wants.
He did that the year we won the Super Bowl 2 years ago. That offseason, he wasn't even present.
But do you think that you think he'll do that? He'll sign a big deal with the Pats? You don't think there'll be like a handshake agreement that, hey, Brady, like, you've actually got to like do something with?
I mean, I think he knows that he has to, especially with like N'Keal Harry and those guys. But he's got with Edelman. They need to bring a veteran receiver, not freaking Mohamed Sanu. Emmanuel Sanders would have been perfect for us this year. We didn't need Mohamed Sanu. Bring in a receiver that knows what they're doing, so that he doesn't have to rely on them not getting open in the game. That is what struggled the whole season.
Yeah.
Dude, I cannot see any scenario happening other than Brady comes back to the Patriots and the Patriots sign like Antonio Brown or AJ Green or
you think they'll sign Antonio Brown?
They're gonna. I know for a fact he's gonna definitely re-sign with the Pats. He's just trying to get more money right now. His camp is leaking all this stuff. I mean, I can't envision Brady going anywhere else. And I just know the Pats always do this. In the beginning of the year, they had Demaryius Thomas. They had all these receivers, and we're like, oh my God, it's gonna be that year again. And Amari Cooper, there's so many good receivers on the market right now. And this is the most loaded draft ever in terms of wide receivers. I think maybe I know the Patriots can't draft a receiver to save their life, but if they could ever, it would be this year.
Yep, I still remember the year that we took Chad Jackson instead of Santonio Holmes. Speaking of good old Pittsburgh guys.
We took N'Keal Harry over AJ Green this year. What was it, AJ Brown on the Titans?
Yeah.
Deebo Samuel.
I do agree with the premise, though. I do think the Vikings would be a good fit for both parties because, I mean, come on. This isn't the case of having a young, of mortgaging your future. I think we all know the ceiling of Kirk Cousins. I think that is a more likely scenario, though. I don't see it. It just seems weird to think of Brady on the Vikings. But I think that's the better fit than the Titans, who have a young quarterback who broke out this year, or the 49ers, who basically had their franchise quarterback start his first full year and lead them to the Super Bowl. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I just don't know how much better you think Garoppolo is going to get. Do you think Garoppolo will be a top 10 quarterback moving forward for the next 10 years? It seems like you must be pretty bullish on Garoppolo, I guess, because the 49ers haven't come out and said anything, but it seems like, you're pretty sold on Garoppolo being a good quarterback in this league.
I think he doesn't wow me with his talent, but I think he's kind of a unheralded, he's pretty clutch. I feel like he delivers in big moments for someone who's still I know he's 28, but last year was his first full year starting. So he's still pretty much a young quarterback, because he sat for so many years.
I think first couple years of Brady, he wasn't this, Pro Bowl quarterback, but he was clutch. And Jimmy G got paid because when he went there, he won 5 games when he got traded there.
Yeah.
He's got that factor where they just win games. It's not like he
wins. He's
not
winner.
A Pro Bowler.
And
but
it seems like guys like him, you saw George Kittle came out right away and said Jimmy G is my quarterback.
Sometimes
the only people who haven't backed him have been the coach and the GM, though.
I mean, everyone talks about Rodgers. How many freaking he's supposed to be the greatest of all time. How many Super Bowls has he won? How many times has he got to the NFC Championship game? He's always a leader in passing yards, but in big games he chokes.
Well, let's do this. Whitey, is Garoppolo going to win a championship? I mean, you think he's pretty good. You don't think that the 49ers should do a trade? You think Garoppolo brings them a championship?
I think he can. I mean, he got experience in the Super Bowl, and he does come up big in big moments. And that team is stacked, dude. Kittle, did you see Kittle's social media post where he was just straight up endorsing Jimmy G? George Kittle, he could be the Gronk to, for him. He could be the same thing. I think Jimmy G and Kittle could be very similar to Brady and Gronk. And he also has he has Debo. He just has talent all around him, and his defense is absolutely stacked, dude. Bosa is pretty much unguardable. You cannot stop Bosa. He was wreaking havoc on Mahomes the whole entire Super Bowl.
Oh yeah, he's so good.
So
he's already up there for defensive player of the year.
The 49ers have all they need to win the title. It's just so why are you gonna shake things up by bringing a 43-year-old Brady and basically
because I think it's that they got that close last year. They've gotten close before. They got close in the Ravens Super Bowl. They've been on the doorstep. So why not get the best guy ever to push you over? I think that's the reason why this still goes out there. And again, Don Yee could have squashed this, and other people could have squashed this. But, if they haven't, then I think that means that there is a little bit of doubt maybe in the front office from the 49ers and Jimmy Garoppolo.
But do you realize Brady is also a statue? Like, he cannot move at all. Like,
He never has, though.
Garoppolo is not like an all-star, like superstar, like athlete where he can like run around like Mahomes, but he can at least move. Like
You don't
in
need.
today's NFL, you can't. You need somebody that can move. Like
They've been saying that for 10 years now, though, and you don't need Brady to run around when you have an offensive line like the 49ers have, and like the Titans have. They both have great offensive lines. You just need guys that get open quick. That's it. Brady doesn't run around. He never has. Peyton Manning never ran around. Drew Brees doesn't run around. I know everyone wants to go towards these quarterbacks that run around and do all these things, but as far as I'm concerned, Mahomes is the only one that can run around and has the arm like he does.
Yeah.
Yeah, but today's NFL, that's what they're looking for in a quarterback. Like prototypical guys that stand strong in the pocket. Like I think there's a few prospects from this year's draft that teams are actually worried that they can't move. Like I think the guy from Utah State. There's a few quarterbacks who are like they say that he's like they're brilliant passers and they stand strong in the pocket, but they cannot move for the life of them. So they're like literally doubting whether they're draftable.
Well,
So
hey,
like
Whitey.
today's NFL, I know like in the past 20 years Brady won without moving, but today's NFL is kind of GMs want that. They need that.
I think the thing, though, for Brady, though, is he moves well in the pocket. Like, you watch the blitzers come by, and Brady has just seen so many looks for so long. He's just got something up on the next guy.
He used to do that really well. He used to, remember Stephen A. used to be like, he used to tap dance like Jeffrey Hines or something. He used to be able to he could do that. Like he tap dance in the pocket and kind of like move up a little bit just enough to like get the ball out. But last year he didn't really exhibit that he could do that anymore. But we'll see.
Yeah, we will. Hey, we'll let you go on this. Justin was just throwing out that the Cowboys could be a decent team for the Patriots. I mean, it seems like you ultimately think that Brady's going to come back to the Patriots. What's your ultimate call? How does this free agency boil down?
Yeah, I just don't see any other scenario where Brady doesn't come back to the Patriots and they get back to the Super Bowl and rip my heart out, just like every other year for the last 20 years.
Beautiful. Well, we'll definitely settle for
all they need is a
that.
few weapons. Like they were 12-4 with no weapons. They can easily sign a few.
I know they're 12-4, and we're acting like the sky's falling down. I know you must love that. Oh, we're 12-4. It's so bad.
I do love that it's even a conversation. Like it's the first time in 20 years it's even a conversation. It's even like an option that he's not going to come back. So like I do love it, but I still I'm pessimistic when it comes to the Patriots because they've been breaking my heart for the last 20 years. So
yeah. Well, hey man,
I can't imagine that. I cannot imagine them like getting rid of Brady and signing like Andy Dalton. Like I just cannot see that happening. Like imagine us being a Patriots fan and going from Brady to Andy Dalton.
I think they would bring in Stidham before they brought in Dalton, personally, because
or Mariota. I heard Mariota's a target, but still, yeah.
Well, hey man, we appreciate you calling in from long distance tonight, and take care. We'll talk to you next week.
Fellas, stay safe from the coronavirus out there. I know I'm praying every morning I get on the train.
Same. Be scared of the next CNN update. Sure, it'll seem like the world's ending.
Seriously.
All right, man.
Fellas.
So, I think we can probably flip the page a little bit to the NBA. Looks like Boston came out on top of the game tonight, 114-111, but still some pretty poor play out of Kemba Walker, and it's been 9-10 games now where he's been shooting 37% from the field, 32% from three, hasn't made more than 6 field goals in a game over his last 10 games or so. So all going back to him sitting out during that injury, missing a lot of time, then coming back, not being that effective. This bench looks a little bit thin, and, Danny Ainge looks like he is definitely to blame a bit. What do you think about this team? as they've had to face a couple injuries and have lost this, have lost 4 games at home before this game. What did you kind of think about what you've seen over the last week?
So Kemba obviously sat out for 10 games or so, and during those 10 games, the team turned to Jason Tatum's team. Somebody comes back, he's trying to gel with being just another guy. You're not like the leader of the team anymore, which he still can be. And in the playoffs, he's gonna have big games. But I think Hayward went through it a lot when he came back from his injury, and it's like, well, I'm just gonna pass it because the team now is gelling so well with Jason Tatum as the lead horse. And the only problem with Tatum being the lead horse is that you're seeing a lot of iso ball. Where in Brad Stevens' offense, they're most efficient when they're passing the ball and finding the open man. And Kemba's very good at that. You'll see games where Kemba will score 14 points in the first quarter, and then he won't score again to the fourth. Like, he's not that guy, and that's great because we don't need the Antichrist Kyrie Irving all over again. But it's interesting, and I do think they haven't played healthy altogether, maybe 7 games this whole year. So when Brown comes back, that pushes the 3-point specialist, Marcus Smart, who should stop shooting immediately, to the bench, and he'll be that bench role. I personally feel like they would be best if Hayward came off the bench. Yeah. If you have Hayward and Smart off the bench, I don't know who you would move into the starting lineup. You kind of, you wish that, like, what's his name, the rookie.
I know who you're talking about.
The kid from Indiana, the rookie, whatever. You wish that, like, he would blossom, but he's still really young. It's just, if Hayward ran the offense, the second unit, this would be perfect for us. And maybe you have Grant Williams play power forward, and you move Tice to the center, or he already is. But granted, if you had Hayward, Smart, Beaujolais, Cantor, and Wanamaker, whatever, on the bench, that's not a bad bench. And the bench doesn't play that much in the playoffs.
So do you blame Brad ultimately for not making these adjustments?
I think Brad has struggled the past couple of games blowing leads. They almost blew it again tonight. I don't know.
I can't believe they almost blew tonight.
Yeah,
I was looking over, it was like 100
they were
to
up
like
by
80.
15. I don't really know what goes on during these games. I haven't been able to watch the past couple games, but it's an interesting dynamic, and you just hope that Brad can make the right decisions in these crucial moments, because he struggled at this last year too. With there's certain times where he doesn't call a timeout, and he just keeps letting the team run up the score, and then when we get down, Marcus Smart's hucking up threes, and we're not shooting efficient shots. I think it's a collective, a bunch of things going on, but I'm happy that's happening now instead of in the playoffs.
Yep.
I mean, I still think this team can go to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah, I think you make a great point. I mean, the Celtics, their top 5 has played together for a total of like 188 minutes I was looking at. And if you want to put that in perspective, if you look at the Bucks, the Heat, the top teams in the East, they have their top 5 lineup has played like 500 minutes together. Mm-hmm. So there's a huge – I don't want to make the excuse for them that they haven't gotten to play together, but they literally haven't. There's only been 17 games in which those 5 were all on the floor at the same point. So it just hasn't been enough being able to use their best pieces. I think when everyone's at their best, this is a really good team. And I think that that you make a great suggestion to bring Gordon Hayward off the bench. I don't know if he would ever accept that type of role with this team.
I think he would.
You think he would?
Yeah, I mean,
it seems like he's just kind of like Brad Stevens' kid, though. I feel like he's always going to get that favoritism.
You see in the games that Kemba doesn't play, right? And he's the primary ball handler. The offense runs smoothly because he's our best passer, hands down. I just feel like I don't want Marcus Smart leading a unit off the bench.
I still don't feel comfortable watching him carry the ball up the court.
And like when he hits a couple threes, he just starts hucking them up from everywhere. I think last week during 3 games, he was 7 of 39 from 3. He makes a play at the end of the game, and all the fans love it. But did they watch the first 4 quarters where he shoots a shot, and it's like 20 seconds left on the clock? What are you doing? You're not a shooter. You're on this team. You're a defensive player. He can play make. He's gotten better at passing. I give him that. He's a great free throw shooter. But he takes some shots. Like, why?
I don't get it. He's an average 3-point shooter. He should take an average amount of threes.
He's gotten better every year, but he shoots way too many of them. He shoots more threes than Tatum does some games. And Tatum's always
more than Steph Curry does some games. It's like 13 attempts. It's like I want to only see that from James Harden. And
I don't want to see that
it's
at
more
all.
so just to make fun of Harden.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
He plays terrible ball.
Yeah, he is the leader of the team, and he does have an important role in the team. I don't want to diminish that. It's just when Kemba's not healthy and he is the point guard, it is brutal to watch.
Yeah.
Because he should be just passing. You should not shoot unless you're wide open.
And I'm just tired of him making any type of offensive developments because they're not huge. It's like if you look at his stats this year compared to other teams, you'd assume he's averaging like 25 points a game the way people are talking about him.
He's had some big games. I'll give him that.
But he's like a point or two over like his career average. He's shooting kind of like it's like he's not having this offensive. Sure, he's definitely had some big games where he needed to carry. I think like that Clippers game, I think he scored like 30 points or something. Like they definitely needed some of those efforts.
But you look at like the championship teams. Like I want him to be like the James Posey of like because he is. You need guys like that on championship teams. The defensive guys that come in and shut people down, and he can do that against multiple different roles, and that's why he's talked about so much on TV and whatnot. But that's what he should be doing. He shouldn't be leading an offense. And I don't know why Brad Stevens doesn't tell him to stop shooting the ball because it's painful to watch, and it hurts the team sometimes because they'll be going on a run, and all of a sudden. Marcus Smart just misses 4 threes in a row, and the other team
He tees off from 5 feet behind the line as an average three-point shooter.
But then, like in a big game, he'll hit a 3, and it's like, what the heck?
I know.
I mean, it's the honestly, it's like at Six Flags the Superman ride. You go on the top, and it's just like wow, and then it's up and then it's down, and it's a roller coaster ride with him every single game. But he gets so much credit for. Now, big play he makes.
Diving on the floor, but we never talk about all the times he breaks his hand and misses games, or he does the rogue play, the 3 that he takes at the end of the game. No one remembers these shots that he misses and timely. It's all these hashtag winning plays. It's almost like there's like propaganda around him.
You gotta think though, what market we're in, right? Boston people, all Boston fans love
the hard worker.
Yeah, like Justin Pedroia, you would think he is going to the Hall of Fame. Like he's a Mighty Mouse. He does all these great things.
Well, now that Biggio's in, that line may be blurred a bit.
But like Edelman's great. But like people love the hardworking, like tough guys that like make big plays and that were never thought of to do it. And Marcus Smart is that guy with the Celtics. And it's just sometimes he gets way too much credit than he deserves.
It honestly makes me queasy when I see him like get ready to hoist one up. I'm like,
oh, you can see it. He'll like go dribble.
There is zero chance.
He'll dribble around the court. Now he's got like the fadeaway 3 too. He thinks he's like Tatum out there, and it's like, oh, here comes another brick.
Oh. Well, one guy that wasn't shooting bricks this weekend was LeBron James, who pretty much reclaimed his crown in if you listen to a lot of people, LeBron really had some big efforts against 2 of the biggest teams. They won against the Bucks on Friday, then won against the Clippers on Sunday. So, can you remember another athlete, I guess, in the NBA, playing at this level so deep in their career?
No, I mean, I'll give him credit for that. He's 35, and not only that, he's 35, but he has played how many minutes in his career with all like the championship runs and whatnot every single year. It's pretty remarkable to watch. I'm not a LeBron fan whatsoever, but he deserves a lot of credit for especially last year, how it happened, and this year.
Yeah, and I think for so long there was a case on why Giannis is the MVP. And that case is still pretty solid. I don't think he's really in that big a jeopardy of losing out on the MVP, but I do think LeBron is kind of coming hard. And if you look at it, LeBron was the player of the month for February. He's changed to point guard in his 17th season. He's leading the league in assists and total assists. So it's like this guy has completely kind of changed who he is. He's the tallest point guard of all time, tied with Magic Johnson. So he's just kind of defined differently what a point guard is in 1 year, and he's thrived at it in his 17th year in the league. So it's really incredible stuff. And if you were watching the Clippers game, he was taking on their best defender, taking on Kawhi at the end of the game, driving right by him, guarding some of these guys. It's like LeBron really doesn't sit a whole lot of minutes. He plays a lot of minutes in these games. It's like even when they had a 10-point lead, like they've got to bring LeBron back in the game and make sure that he doesn't. He's it's clear like how valuable he is. You know, they're about to win double the amount of games that they won last year. They're leading the West by so much. And it's like so many people for so many years were like, oh, LeBron can just easily get through the East, you know. And now he's doing it in the West, leading them. So it's something where he's coming hard on that MVP. I think he's, probably the number 2 candidate. What do you think of his MVP candidacy?
I mean, granted, he is doing well in the West this year, but there's no Warriors this year. Just want to point that out. I do think he's having a great year. I do think when it comes to playoff time that the Clippers will beat the Lakers because the Clippers have 2 guys that can guard any position. And they have Beverly, who can guard any position except for the center.
And they brought in Morris.
And they have more. Yeah, he was 0 of 10 in that game.
Well, the LeBron defender.
Yeah. I do think there's something wrong with Kawhi, though. I do think physically, like, you see him, like, especially against the Celtics, like, Tatum was dominating him. And LeBron was, Beverly was guarding LeBron most times in that game, which is like, what's going on? I think the wild card in all this is Paul George, because if Paul George can elevate his game to what he was last year or when he was with the Pacers, they're going to be a tough out. And I don't think he's had as good of a year as everyone hoped. But the Clippers have a good bench, too, with Lou Williams and Harrell. The Lakers just, if LeBron gets cold one game, they're just going to keep passing it down low to AD.
Yeah.
And their supporting cast isn't as good.
No, I've got to completely agree with you, although I don't want to. I do think the Clippers are going to be the team that wins the championship, the team that is the deepest, the team that's most suited to play the Lakers. I just think that they have a lot of advantages in that regard. I think they bring 3, 4, 5 guys that can defend LeBron. That's going to tire him out. They've got some size. And
so who do you think either of those teams would rather play, the Bucks or the Celtics?
I think that both of them would rather play the Bucks.
Exactly.
Because I think the Celtics, when I was saying like a minute ago, you get that 4-headed monster when everybody's doing their best, and that is a nightmare.
Because they went 2-2 against them, and both times we lost, it came down to the very end. And both those times we lost, we didn't have Kemba. So I think a matchup-wise, they don't want to face the Celtics.
Yep.
I think it's going to be harder for the Celtics to get out just because of the size with the Raptors, the 76ers, and the Bucks. But I do think they can, especially the Clippers, I think the Celtics match up with them very well because they're not that big. And Tatum has elevated his defense this year to an elite level. I think that would be a 7-game series.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Celtics, although they had a tough week, I think they're still positioned well I like them to come out ahead of Toronto in this division. People keep talking that Toronto is okay. I like the Celtics to come out, and, I think they can definitely give the Bucks a tough series.
I mean, all the Western, like in the past, we would beat up on all the crappy teams, but then the big games we'd always lose. This year, every big game we've been in, if we've lost, it came down to the end.
Crappy.
But like even the Rockets' losses, I mean, we should have won one of those games. I'd blame them on
those
Brad.
Games both
the
came
second
down
one.
to the last.
But we beat all. We've even beat the Bucks this year. We've beat all of the good teams on home or on the road, and like I really feel like this team, and not just saying this as a homer, we potentially could get there. It win it, probably not, but it's going to be hard for them to get out of the East with the sizes.
Yeah, and it's going to be tough, considering they didn't do anything. You heard that Danny was going to do something on the trade deadline. Then you heard, nope, we'll do way better even in the buyout market, and they didn't.
Well, I think they're really hoping for, what's his name?
Christian Thompson?
No, the center that just came back, their young guy.
Oh, well, yeah, they're hoping for Robert Williams to come back. And that's their trade, healthy.
Yeah, and getting obviously Kemba back healthy, but we'll see. It's going to be interesting.
Well, we got a minute left, so I think we have to touch on one of the show's all-time favorite athletes. Kyrie Irving kicked Kenny Atkinson out of town, or at least Kenny Atkinson left. I think that's largely a Kyrie Irving move that he got him out of there. Nobody obviously knows. But you heard like whispers that he didn't like him, just a couple days into it or just a couple weeks into it. And, he's definitely on my, Mount Rushmore of the athletes that I hate the most, from
Not even
Boston.
just Boston, in the NBA in general, people can't just look at this person and say, oh, he's got such great talent. Look at all his highlight reels. Watch his game. Because during the games, he takes the dumbest freaking shots. He plays zero defense, and all he does is bitch and complain. He's clearly the most hated athlete in Boston, probably of all time. I would put him up there with anybody. And he just ruined another franchise because that coach pushed him too hard.
I know, and it's amazing because last year it was like they wanted to go to a culture with a good coach. Like you've heard so many things. This guy, Kenny Atkinson, is a good coach. He's looked at by a lot of teams right now. Like a lot of teams are saying, crap, like we have a chance to get this guy.
Reports are that it was a mutual thing. Like he didn't want to coach Kyrie and KD next year. Can you blame him? Talking about the two biggest divas in the NBA in one team.
Kyrie had a chance to make an impression. He played, 20 games and bitched all the way through.
Yeah, and the record with him was terrible, and the record without him was better, just like the Celtics last year. He's a cancer to any team he goes to. But good thing he watches lots of Friends, and he's just so smart. He's such a smart guy.
Yeah, he is. Well, speaking of smart guys, that's going to do it for the rest of us, our podcast, and the smart guys up here tonight. Brian Murphy producing the show. Justin Elaine sitting in the co-host chair. I'm Billy Allen. And we will catch you next week on another edition of Open Season.
I'm just not sure that Kyler Murray is big enough. This is Tom Brady. He's not just going to retire. Whitey, big fan of the show. Appreciate I've got Brian Murphy to my left, making sure everything's smooth, crispy, buttery.